All right, so in this video, I'm going to go over how I trade these individual trading systems. Now, first off, I just want to say that I got all these ideas, I got all these chart templates from Wayne McDonald at FX Bootcamp. I'm going to put the link in below, so shout outs to him. Not sponsored, just giving credit where credit's due. So I've been placing the stats for this particular day trading system. I'll place the stats right up over here. I'll be able to green light it or red light it, saying that it's good to trade, or I through my back testing it doesn't have the decent amount of profit margin for me to do that system on that particular pair. So this is my trading system on the day trade. What I'm looking for whenever the market opens, these are my weekly pivots. I'm looking for a bounce off of the M2, or for price to come in and bounce on the central pivot. So I'm looking for price to either come in and bounce on the central pivot and then start heading up, or for price to come down to the M2 and then start heading up. So in this situation here, I marked out the setup, and what I'm looking for is for price to come. For example, this is a setup right here, bouncing off the M2. I want price to come up through the daily pivots and then bounce on the central pivot, and I take a buy right here. And then my target is usually the top end of the of the next day. So if it doesn't reach that, then I move it up to the top end of the next day. But usually if I get a confluence of the weekly take profit zone, which is this gray area, and the take profit zone, then I'll use a take profit at the confluence point. At this point right here, I actually had a take profit right here and it didn't quite reach it. So anyways, a couple of other situations that may occur on that is if I do have, okay, here's one for example right here. Or if so if I have price come into a daily take profit zone, which is this red box right here, then what I'm looking for is the next day is to place my entry, instead of at the daily pivot point, is to place my entry more towards the daily M2 area. Not all the way down exactly to the M2, because I've noticed that price, will usually go slightly above the M2 and then pull right back up again. And I'm also accounting for spread. The other reason why I will go for an M2 is not just because of we reach the take profit zone for the day, is if we get a sideways box, and the box is measured between the central pivot and the M2. And so for an example, this is a box right here. I'll box it out. Okay, so this is a sideways box. And if I get a sideways box, or if price enters the new day going sideways into it, I'll place a pending order also near the M2. So if it's an upwards box, like this one right here, if the boxes are moving up and price is above, then I'll place my pending order right here at central pivot. Again, I'm looking for targets right at the top, at the R2, the daily R2, and then if I don't get it, I move it to the next days. Now if I get a inside week, which means that the pivots are a lot smaller, if we just have like a range bound trade, range bound price movement this day, and then it causes these pivots to move to contract, then I'm looking more for like an R3 as my target. Or if I get a confluence of my weekly, which is gray box, and in a pivot point, then I'll place my targets there. Every day I re-update all my take profits And I move my stops once I get a higher high. So you can see here my stop was below the support. I usually place it my stop right about here. And once I get price breaking the previous high, I move my stop to just below a swing low point. And once I reach into a target zone, if price comes up into a target zone but doesn't take me out of my trade because it didn't quite reach high enough, I will move my stop up to a break-even point. The other thing is I don't trade Fridays. This is a Friday right here. I don't do Fridays. So the last trading day for me is Thursday. Once I go below, this is the weekly M2. Once I go below the weekly M2 and stay below the weekly M2, I don't trade. So it's got to come down and bounce off the M2 for me to start taking my trades, or for price to come down and show a bounce off of the central pivot point in order for me to take my trades. Okay, so that's the day trading portion. These are 15-minute charts, so these are all 15-minute candles. Let me go into my swing trading, and I will show you how I do my swing trading and my position trading. Swing trading and position trading is very similar to me. It's just one's entered into I basically, on the position trade, I'm using the monthly, which is the gray line right here, the thick lines. I'm using the monthlies. If the first time we come down to the monthly M2, let me go ahead and I reconfigured my Fibonacci to take it at an 80% level. So if we come down into it, I'm taking it at the M2. If we're coming down, I'm taking it at the 80% level. So I don't want to take a buy above this 80% level. And I'm placing my stop right here at just below the support level, right here, just below this gray level. And what I'm targeting is I'm targeting a level that gives me a really good risk to reward ratio. So again, if I have like a situation where my weekly and my monthly targets are around the same zone, I'm going to probably take profit where it overlaps together. But usually I'm going for, like, for example here, my average win says, let's see here, my average win is 129 pips. My average loss is 40.58 pips. So I'm looking for a target zone that gives me at least around my average win or more. And if my average loss, if my stop is more than 40 pips, then I'm looking for a W, a win, that's going to be more than 129 pips. Once I make it go for central pivot on the weekly, I'm sorry, on the monthly central pivot, the black line, once we make it go, make it run for the central pivot, I'm going to move my stop to just below here. As you can see here, it did stop me out for a small loss. But usually, once I move my stop, once we make it go for central pivot, if it's going to continue on, it's going to do like a 1, 2, 3 and up. This was all election, so we had a lot of wild swings. Also, I am going to, and it's a little bit of a hedge, I will place an opposite trade, and it does work itself out, believe me. I will place a pending order for a sell right here. As you can see, it took me in, and once we broke below or makes it go for a central pivot, I'm going to reduce my risk on this. So it was in fact a small stop out. Wasn't a really good month for me, but these are my stats over here. I have my average win is 150 pips and my average loss is 54 pips. Those are my stats right there. So they work themselves out. And then for my swing trades, so that's my position. And for my swing trades, what I'm doing is I'm looking for the open, market open, and if we have a market open, and you can see here the smaller lines here. Let me enlarge this so you can see better. I'm using a big screen, so it might show up smaller on if you have a small screen. But so right here is the central pivot for the weekly. This is the M3. This is the you can't see it because it's marked out right here by the thick central pivot line. But if we open near an M3, or if we open near the M2 on Sunday, which Sunday my time, but it's whenever the new week opens, right before Tokyo opens, then I take a sell or a buy. And same thing with my stops, but on a weekly basis, I'll place my stop right above the R1 for a sell, and right below the S1 for a buy. Once we make it go for central pivot, I will reduce my stop. So this is what I'm looking for right here. So price comes in, and I'm selling it here, and my target is typically, I'm going for something like this. If it's a small inside, that means if the pivots are really tight together, I'm looking for more like a S2, or down here at the S3. So it just depends on how condensed these pivots are. A lot of times I'll go for S3. But once I get a go, once price makes a go for central pivot, I will reduce my risk by removing my risk by moving down my stop to just above the M3. Or if price came up here and then moved down, I'll place my stop just above the swing high. Same thing if we come in, if price had come in, sorry, that's not the point. If price came in to my M2 and opened up right here, I'm close to the M2, I'm taking it for a long. My stop is down here. Once I make it go for central pivot, I move up my stop to just below the M2, or just below the swing low. And once I make it go for example, right here, I would have entered right here. My stop would have been here. Once I made it go for central pivot, I removed risk, and let's say my take profit was up here, just below the R2 level. Once I enter into the red zone, if my take profit was up here, I'm going to move my stop to break even point right here. If I don't reach my take profit point, then I'm looking for the next week's take profit zone. So every week, if I still have open orders, I'm gonna move those up. Yes, I do hedge on these, and for me it works themselves out through all my back testing. Let's go to my 4 horsemen. It's my 4 horsemen. I trade on the Australian yen, the Euro yen, the Euro CAD, and the USD CAD. My ratio is for every $250 in my account, I use 600. As far as, because I use FOREX.com, their home platform for this trading system. The other trading systems I use Trader's Wave for. But for FOREX.com, what they allow me to do is, for my take profits, I'll go into that here in a second, but for every $250 I place 600. So if I have, right now I have 1,500 in my account, so this is going to be 3,600 right here. This is divisible by 3, so I place 3 take profit zones. So the way I trade this, we open and it's above central pivot, it can do something like this, but once we make it go, and I mean it's got to be really close, it's got to be probably like within these numbers right here. If we make it go for the M3 I'm selling, and my targets are going to be right here. Because of spread, I want to make sure that it gets just above. With spread, I want to make sure it gets just above, and then my final target with spread is just above. So it's going to be the M2, the S1, and my M1. So 3 different target zones. Now, once I'm going to have also my stop is going to be, and I reconfigured my Fibonacci between M3 and R1. I'm going to have it at the 25% level. So my stop is going to be, let's go ahead and erase all this here. My stop's going to be up here. My entry is going to be right here. My first profit target, which is going to be, if I have 3,600 on, is going to be 1,200, and another pending order for buy at 1,200 with 1,200, and another pending order to buy at 1,200. So once price comes up and it hits my entry, and we close below or wick below central pivot, I'm taking my stop and I'm placing it just above my swing high. And once price comes down and takes my first take a profit zone, what this will do is, if we come all the way back, it will pay for my stop. If we reverse at the central pivot, I get stopped out at a small loss. Now, if I come down to my second profit target level, what I get to do is remove all of my risk. I move my stop all the way down to my break-even zone, and that's the last time I moved my stop. So I get paid here and I get paid here, and I do the same system for all 4 of these: the US CAD, Euro CAD, Euro Yen, Australian Yen. Let me go ahead and show you. Currently on my live account, I'm up, and this is after 6 months. I did it. I did all my back testing, and then I started doing it live. These are my live results here. Let me get that for you. So I started back in May, 8 May. August, September, October, November. So yeah, 6 months. And so I started off with $1,000. This is everything above 1,000. So I was 1,100. I was 1,288, and so on. You can see the equity curve here. And now I'm, after 6 months, I'm up 58.2%. And this is the combined weekly totals right here, combined between all 4. And then I broke them down so that way I can see how well each pair is doing. And this is my USD CAD. It kind of performed sideways, took wins and losses. This is my underperformer. This is my Euro CAD, how it's done throughout the 6 months. You can see the majority of my winners are from the Australian Yen and the Euro Yen. Now I just want to add on a couple things here that I failed to mention, is that what's invalid and what's valid. A lot of times price will come down and open up right near central pivot, and it'll just kind of play around with the central pivot. As soon as I make it go at the M3 or M2 and then come back below central pivot, both ends are invalidated. If I do make it go at the M3 and triggers my sell, then that's valid. But if it makes it go at it, and once it crosses back below pivot, then both ends are invalidated. If I do open, let me erase this here. So if I do open here and it makes it go at the M3 and it triggers my entry, then I can sell it. So it can't make it go at the M2 and then come all the way up and trigger my sell. Once we cross above that central pivot, then it's invalidated. All right. So furthermore, when market does open and we get a large spread on Sunday afternoon my time, whenever the market opens for the week for you, you got to figure out what that time is. But you get a large spread. What I don't want to see is, I don't want to see, let's say it opens up down here and I have the buy spread here and the sell spread. So if you enter in to buy, you're actually in up here with the spread. I don't want to see the spread be from here all the way up to here. I want to see it below the halfway point between central pivot and the M2. So this is probably the widest that I will take it. Anything more than this large of a spread, I'll wait until the following hour when the spread narrows, and if we're still down here at the M2. Okay, I hope that clears up any type of validations or invalidations on the Four Horsemen trading system. Let me know in comments below if I missed anything or if you want to hear more. We'll see you next time.